Welcome back, fellow sleuths of the heart and followers of quiet truths, to your refuge of clever speculation and tender curiosity. You've arrived at Secrets Behind the Stars, the one place where the glare of headlines fades and the softer, more revealing notes of human feeling come into focus. Today we are not chasing simple gossip, we are unpacking a phenomenon that has turned timelines into evidence boards and casual fans into diligent archivists. It is a narrative whispered in dressing rooms and sent like a coded message through comment sections. It is the rumor that refuses to die, the possibility that Elçin Sangu and Barış Arduç may have sealed their story in a ceremony far from the noise. If your pulse quickens at the crossroads of grand romance and guarded mystery, you are exactly where you need to be. Before we unspool the thread, make sure you are subscribed to Secrets Behind the Stars. Tap that bell like a heartbeat so you won't miss revelations. And if you want a seat at the inner table of our little investigative society, the join button is waiting. Your likes guide the course we chart, and your comments power the wind that moves us forward. Keep your theories ready, tonight we venture into the hush where truth likes to hide. For years, what played out between Elçin Sangu and Barış Arduç on screen set an impossible standard. Their scenes sizzled past the frame, the kind of magnetism no lighting plan can manufacture. It wasn't merely professionalism, it felt like music only they could hear, a rhythm that made them move as if each breath had been choreographed by instinct. Over time, audiences learned to read the small things, the way their eyes softened at the edges, the lingering comfort of a shared laugh during interviews, the serenity in photo shoots that suggested emotions with roots deeper than a script. And then came the near-silent gestures on social media, those almost private signals fans swear were addressed to a single recipient. All of that has now calcified into the rumor rolling like thunder across the fandom, that they may have wed behind closed doors, in a moment curated for no one but themselves. Not a glossy, magazine-ready ceremony posing as private, but something small enough to live inside a whisper. Sources, always certain, always unnamed, say the two of them engineered a bubble so perfectly sealed that even close friends caught only the echo of vows, not the words themselves. If the story is true, it wasn't just secrecy, it was a work of art, a choreography of absence. Those whispers become more romantic when the setting is discussed. The most persuasive theory claims the event unfolded outside Turkey, beyond the reach of familiar eyes, somewhere serenity is a commodity money can still buy. Imagine a discreet door in a quiet street, a key turning, and a room where the air belongs to them alone. This speculation is welded to their recent behavior. Elçin has stepped back, turning down interviews and letting premieres pass without her. At the same time, Barış has thinned his presence online to a trace, no longer leaving the digital breadcrumbs fans expect. In this world, two stars vanishing at once rarely feels accidental. It reads like intention, like a private promise defended by silence. Insiders, on the very edges of their circles, say this was the plan from the beginning, to keep the day sealed from the roar of their own fame. A handful of trusted confidants allegedly helped execute a timeline that turned a chaotic life into a quiet pocket of normality. In that pocket, they weren't icons offering spectacle, they were simply two people making an oath without an audience. But any myth needs its artifact, and fans think they've found theirs. The catalyst was a gleam, a refined, understated ring that appeared on Elçin's hand in recent weeks. Screenshots multiplied. Photos were blown up until the pixels started to sing. Angles were tested. Light was compared. Amateur gemologists bloomed overnight in the comments. The growing consensus among believers is clear and breathless: that ring doesn't want to sparkle, it wants to whisper forever. Meanwhile, the two names at the center of the storm have spoken with remarkable restraint, not a denial, not a confirmation, not even a clever wink disguised as banter. The silence only sharpens the edges of the rumor. In an industry where narratives are usually managed by swift statements and surgical clarifications, not speaking can feel like a message of its own. The longer the quiet stretches, the richer the fantasies grow, and the more elaborate the reconstructions become. Let's pause with the Secrets Behind the Stars community and wrestle with the ethics that hitch a ride with desire. We have watched them pretend to fall in love for hundreds of hours. We feel as if we know how their hands would meet in the dark. But do we own access to their reality? If an intimate ceremony did occur in secret, is the public owed confetti, or is the stealth something to applaud, a rare victory for privacy in a world that swallows it whole? Is this silence tactical, or is it sacred? Speak to us in the comments. Where do your hopes meet your respect for the space they might be defending? Here's how fans imagine the timeline. Two professionals at the top of their game read the same calendar and feel the same ache. The hours together are shrinking. Meetings happen in quiet rooms with agents and managers. Calls are made. Projects are shuffled. Commitments are smoothed into different months. A plan begins to breathe. One that hides in the negative space between public obligations. What looks like distance from the outside is, from within, a careful path leading toward a door and a promise. As for where that door might be, the most compelling theories reject the obvious postcards. Not Paris, where romance is a performance. Not Milan, where spectacle is currency. Not Barcelona, where anonymity is an illusion. Instead, imagine a muted European coastal town, the sound of waves turning thoughts inward, citrus perfume braided into sea air. A small restaurant with candlelight, no more than a handful of tables. The witnesses? 3 or 4, tops. No photographer with a long lens. Just friends with phones, capturing crooked, human images meant to live in a private album, not on a newsstand. And then came the crowdsourced detective work that would make a true crime podcast jealous. Fans dug through posts with a patience bordering on scholarly. One person circled a chair back in a landscape photo Elçin shared weeks ago, a curve of wood with an unusual cut. Another resurfaced a soft focus background from one of Barış's fleeting stories around the same time. The two images, harmless when they appeared, are now plotted side by side. Angles are measured. Shadows are evaluated like star charts. Was the light born of the same window, on the same day, in the same hidden room? The theory gains texture with every comment, proof stitched together from fragments the way quilters conjure blankets from scraps. If this moment really happened, why protect it with such ferocity? One explanation is timing. Perhaps they planned to speak in their own voices at a very specific hour, between projects, when the announcement would feel like a gift instead of a distraction, and the rumor mill simply arrived first. Others nod to strategy. Let silence build a soft rumble of attention, a hum that moves through the audience just before new work arrives. Let the private life be the overture to the next act, without turning love itself into a press release. Every piece of this speculation redraws their shared history on set. Stories bubble up from actors and crew in low, fond tones. People remember the days when the hours stretched long, and Elçin would glance at the edges of the set to check on Barış in that wordless way caretakers do. Had he eaten? Had he paused? Did he need a second to be still? Crew members recall cold evenings where he shrugged off his coat and placed it lightly on her shoulders, the gesture small and decisive, as if the air itself had asked for kindness. At the time, those moments felt like the warmth you find between two colleagues who are perfectly in tune. Now fans replay them as prologue, as little sparks lighting a path to a room by the sea. What would the days after look like? The sensible narrative skips the parade and goes straight to the ordinary. A return to Istanbul, luggage without labels, faces tucked under caps and quiet smiles. A neighbor, anonymous, insistent. Claims they saw two early risers who looked a lot like the pair walking a dog as the sky was still deciding on a color over the Bosphorus. No entourage, no choreography, just two figures in sneakers moving side by side. If it was them, it confirms what many have always suspected. Beneath the gloss is a devotion to the small rituals that actually hold a life together. Of course, rumors multiply like reflections in mirrors. A grainy shot surfaced, taken at an international airport only days ago. Or so the upload claimed. The silhouette looks like Elçin, hand gripping a discreet carry-on. Some swear they can make out the letters ES, others say the pixels are playing tricks. Hours later, another image appears, someone resembling Barış leaving what seems to be the same terminal. The theory writes itself. A quiet trip. A quieter return. A honeymoon that never waited for permission. Or maybe it's all coincidence and wishful thinking, two strangers who look familiar if you squint, a pair of images that happen to rhyme and were forced into a poem. The industry, for its part, inhales and waits. Everyone remembers how their shared scenes once bent ratings and traveled without a passport. The thought that the energy they tended on screen might have been carefully sheltered off screen, that it might have been laid down like brick and made permanent, sends a tremor through anyone who ever rooted for them. It is the rare story that turns skeptics into romantics and romantics into believers. And so we return to the markers that lit the path, the quiet ring, the posts that suddenly look like pieces of a puzzle, the airport echoes, the memories from set recast as clues, the imagined clink of glasses in a room where the ocean listens at the windows. Maybe this is a private fairy tale, folded small to keep it safe. Maybe it's a collective dream, crafted by a community that cherishes what the two of them once conjured together. The outcome remains hidden, but the waiting has become its own drama, a slow-blooming ache that people willingly return to, day after day, just to feel the tingle of possibility. We will be watchful, as always, tracing fissures in the wall of silence the moment a sliver of light appears. If this journey into the most intoxicating mystery of the season has held your attention, honor the effort with a like. Make sure you are subscribed to Secrets Behind the Stars, and set the notification bell so you're first in line when the next chapter drifts into view. For those who want to help keep our lantern burning while we search for truth in the dim corridors of fame, the join button is your way in. In the meantime, let us keep our ears tuned to the spaces between statements and our eyes trained on the margins, where the tender details usually hide. Tell us where you stand. Would a confirmed secret ceremony feel like a triumph of privacy, or a missed chance for a public feast of joy? Would you want speeches and confetti, or does the idea of a whisper suit them better? Whatever answer you carry, remember this. Sometimes the most meaningful stories are those told to no one, and somehow we can still feel them from here. Until the truth decides to step forward in its own time, we will continue walking that fine line with you, curious, patient, hopeful. Thank you for your attention and your imagination. We'll be here at Secrets Behind the Stars, listening for signals, reading the quiet, and following the thread wherever it leads, even if the destination is simply the peace of two people choosing a life that belongs to them.